Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the brand new series known as I'm Out of Ideas. Yes, you heard it right. I'm out of ideas, and it takes a lot to put up a 30-minute video on the occult, and I believe that's going to tank me. So instead, I am now looking at love, a celebration, a lovely little. Is this velvet? I don't know. I'm not. I don't know materials. Either way, it's a little book of poetry, and I'm going to put some footage of Cultist Simulator in the back while I read you some love poetry. It's edited by Helen Exley of Exley Publications, which I've only just now clocked. In the same series, for father with love, for granddad a gift of love, for mother a gift of love, love a keepsake. Love is a grandmother. Marriage a keepsake. Thank heavens for friends. And this was published in 1981 by Exley Publications. 16 Chalk Hill, Watford. So that's nice. The second printing was in 82. The third printing was in 82. The fourth printing was in 83. The fifth printing was in 83. The sixth printing was in 84. And then thankfully we get to the 7th printing, which is in 86. But don't worry, it goes up to the 8th printing in 1988. Then a 9th printing in 1989. But don't you worry, ladies and germs. We got the 10th printing in 1990. I'm not really going to comment on that. But let's go to Always Marry an April Girl by Ogden Nash. Praise the spells and bless the charms. I found April in my arms. April golden, April cloudy, gracious, cruel, tender, rowdy. April soft in flowered languor, April cold with sudden anger. Ever changing, ever true. I love April. I love you. That was Always Marry an April Girl by Ogden Nash. Presumably he married an April girl, and if he didn't, then I'm sure the March girl that he married is very upset by his proclamation that April girls simply are better and that he loves them. The Power of Love by Herbert Shipman. Not to be confused with Harold Shipman. There wasn't much love to that man. He killed around about 215 people, which included 171 women and 44 men. So he had a bit of a problem with love, I think you could say. There were 888 cases in a 2,000-page report which were examined. So I suppose that's the reason that he was called the Doctor of Death. Anyway, The Power of Love by Herbert Shipman. Across the gateway of my heart I wrote no for affair, but love came laughing by and cried, I enter everywhere. Coincidentally, Harold Shipman entered a lot of homes under the guise of being a caring, loving doctor, and then would kill his patients by injecting them with morphine, which they would overdose on. And in fact, Harold Shipman had interestingly enough, it was the site of his mother's doctor. His mother was dying of some form of cancer at the time, and Harold, as a boy, saw this. I say as a boy, he was a teenager by the time, I believe, and he was a very promising young man. Was very dedicated, and the sight of seeing a doctor continually come to his home at a very delicate point in his life, a very stressful point in his life, and always give his mother morphine, inject her with morphine, and then eventually came in, inject her, and it was to have her die in peace. And then he went on a run in the rain, and that stimulated some need, that there was the coldness of the nights, the cold rain, and the burst of energy from the exercise, which created a sort of ecstasy, which that sight had given him, and from that point on, he mimicked it and killed pensioners in their own homes. But that was The Power of Love by Herbert Shipman. If we go ahead Let's see. By chance. I'd have been all right if you hadn't smiled, lighting your eyes onto mine. But since you did, and we spoke and touched, I've another dream, I've conflict and loss. That's by Elspeth Sandys. Now, of course, I don't think that you certainly don't see Love a Celebration next to Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, and presumably it won't be next to the new Winds of Winter book. So perhaps it is lacking some poetic wording which an audience can really grapple with. But I would insist that we can't be too harsh on Elspeth Sandys and the poem By Chance, because perhaps I simply read it wrongly. Because it was such a thrilling poem, I'll read it again. I'd have been all right if you hadn't smiled, lighting your eyes onto. I almost read it as lightning. I apologize to the masses, and I repeat. I'd have been all right if you hadn't smiled, lighting your eyes onto mine. But since you did and we spoke and touched, I've another dream, I've conflict and loss. Perhaps it's meant to be read with a different accent. But we can move on to The Look by Sarah Teasdale. Actually, I'm going to immediately draw attention to the first word of the poem, which I thought at a glance was Stephen, but in fact it's Streffen. It's not Stefan, it's Streffen. As in, imagine Stephen. Imagine Strephon. Streffen. I guess often love is a tragedy. So, The Look by Sarah Teasdale. Streffen kissed me in the spring, Robin in the fall, but Colin only looked at me and never kissed at all. Streffen's kiss was lost in jest, Robin's lost in play, but the kiss in Colin's eyes haunts me night and day. Beautiful poem there by Sarah Teasdale. Of course, it talks about the haunting aspect of love, and in fact, not the romantic aspect of it. One could say that Streffen and Robin, although perhaps mostly Streffen, traumatized young Sarah Teasdale. Simple simplicity, but nothing greater was offered, and then when she looked in Colin's eyes, she saw the event horizon, and perhaps she never has recovered. The next poem is Although I Conquer... ... I'm not sure that you're supposed to read the ... but... in fact, I'm not sure why any title would ever contain a ... The title is supposed to speak for itself. You can start a sentence and have it end with ... You can have a sentence end the chapter and say ... at the end of that. But to have a title, Although I Conquer ... is a little bit infuriating to me. But it's from the Sanskrit people, who obviously something occultism. Although I conquer all the earth, yet for me there is only one city. In that city there is for me only one house, and in that house one room only. And in that room a bed, and one woman sleeps there, the shining joy and jewel of all my kingdom. It didn't rhyme either, so although a nice sentiment, lyrically I'm not too taken aback. The Song of Songs. How fair and pleasant art thou, O love, for delights! This thy stature is like to a palm tree, and thy breasts to clusters of grapes. I said, I will go up to the palm tree, I will take hold of the boughs thereof. Now also thy breasts shall be as clusters of the vine, and smell of thy nose like apples, and the roof of thy mouth like the best wine for my beloved, that goeth down sweetly, causing the lips of those that are asleep to speak. I am my beloved's, and his desire is towards me. That was putrid and made me sick. Our next poem, To My Valentine, again by Ogden Nash. More than a catbird hates a cat, or a criminal hates a clue, or the Axis hates the United States, that's how much I love you. I love you more than a duck can swim, and more than a grapefruit squirts. I love you more than gin rummy is a bore, and more than a toothache hurts. As a shipwrecked sailor hates the sea, or a juggler hates a shove. As a hostess detects unexpected guests, that's how much you I love. I love you more than a wasp can sting, and more than the subway jerks. I love you as much as a beggar needs a crutch, and more than a hangnail irks. I swear to you by the stars above, and below if such there be, as the high court loathes perjurious oaths, that's how you're loved by me. I must say I'm drawn to more than a catbird hates a car, or a criminal hates a clue, or the Axis hates the United States. That's how much I love you. I think, unironically, I'm going to use that. Thank you, Ogden Nash. Thank you for all that you've done. And thank you, Ogden, for filling up this Sunday evening. Well, it'd actually be Monday. For me, it's a Sunday. Thank you for filling up this Sunday and Monday evening with love, a celebration.